The first weekend of baseball is in the books. Let's break it down on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. Today is Monday, April 3rd. I am Frank Sanfield, joined by Scott White, and we got some big news over the weekend that Robbie Ray is going on the IL with a grade 1 flexor strain. He'll be shut down for 2 weeks and then will be reevaluated. That means we need some replacements, Scotty. How about these names in shallower leagues? Tyler Anderson, Zach Eflin, Graham Ashcraft, Justin Steele. All 4 looked great this weekend. How would you rank that group?
I would rank that group Ashcraft 1, Anderson 2, Steele 3, and Eflin 4. I have interest in all 4. I would say in 12-team leagues, they probably all 4 deserve to be rostered. But I do think Ashcraft has the most upside. Certainly, he turned in the most impressive start over the weekend. 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts against the Pirates. He threw his new slider 41% of the time, pairing it with that 100-mile-per-hour cutter. He didn't have a ton of whiffs on the day, especially since it came against the Pirates, which is why I'm not totally all in on Ashcraft yet. Like, I'm not for sure this is going to be a big breakout for him. But of the 4, he has the most big breakout potential. Tyler Anderson, more of just a sturdy, secure operator for you. Justin Steele, he threw his slider a lot more. He threw like half the time in this start as opposed to a third of the time last year, and it helped get him 8 strikeouts against the Brewers. And then Zach Eflin, another like Steele, and he was throwing his best pitch more in his first start, the curveball specifically. And that's the reason why the Rays signed him, because that pitch has emerged as such a good option for Eflin.
All right, what about if you play in a slightly deeper league and those names are not available? We had some other interesting pitchers emerge as well. Mackenzie Gore had a solid start against the Braves. Aaron Savali threw 7 shutout against the Mariners. Mike Clevenger had a great start at the Astros. Seth Lugo was awesome in his Padres debut. 7 innings, 1 run with 7 strikeouts. And Tyler McGill, a solid start filling in for Justin Verlander. Scott, who are your 2 favorites from that group? Gore, Savali, Clevenger, Lugo, and McGill.
My favorites are Gore and Clevenger, mostly because I perceive them to have the most strikeout upside. I wouldn't say either are musts. It's more of a add them if you have a need or add them if you have a spot to play with situation. Clevenger, obviously we knew him to be a pretty good pitcher in the past. He was banged up most of last year, first year back from Tommy John. Interestingly, in this start, he was mostly just a 2-pitch guy, fastball, slider. At his best, Clevenger had a fuller arsenal than that. So I don't know that it's going to be a formula for success for him. But turning the kind of first start he did against the Astros, no less, I think puts Clevenger back on the fantasy radar.
All right, let's talk about some hitters. Last week we mentioned Spencer Steer and Elehuris Montero. What about Yoan Moncada, who had 8 hits this weekend, back-to-back games with a home run? Scott, would you take Moncada over Steer and Montero?
I wouldn't, but part of that's just because I had more faith in Montero and Steer in the first place, and so I don't want to discard that faith after just a weekend of play. What Moncada's been doing so far is very interesting. He's been hitting the ball. He's averaged about 97, 98 miles per hour on all his batted balls, which of course he can't sustain over a full year. But if he can come close to 93, which is what he did at his best last year, it was closer to 88 average exit velocity. We've seen Moncada be a very productive fantasy option in the past, and he's off to a nice start.
All right, what if you need power, Scott? Massive weekend for Adam Duvall. He had a double dong on Saturday, 3 more hits on Sunday. Jorge Soler had a solid weekend, 4 hits, including a home run. Patrick Wisdom had a double dong on Sunday, as did Nolan Gorman. So how are you ranking those 4 if you need power specifically? Duvall, Soler, Wisdom, and Gorman.
I think the way you listed them off is exactly how I rank it. Duvall, Soler, Wisdom, Gorman. And I have real enthusiasm for Duvall. I thought Fenway Park was going to be a good fit for him because he hits towering fly balls to his pull side, so it couldn't be a better setup for him playing at Fenway Park. This was his first weekend there since signing with the Red Sox, and it went as well as anyone could have hoped. 8 for 14, 2 home runs, 3 doubles, a triple. And that was after a really down year for Duvall. Remember, 2 years ago, he had 38 home runs. Probably going to be a batting average liability. I think we've seen enough of him over the years to suspect that, although Fenway Park has a way of elevating hitters' batting averages. So I don't know. 5 outfielder leagues, Duvall really needs to be rostered. On the fence about him in 3 outfielder leagues, but it's a really encouraging start for a guy who of course has been viable in the past.
And Duvall is only 37% rostered. He's got 6 games this week going up against the Pirates and the Tigers pitching staff. So I think Duvall is a worthy add if you need either an outfielder or power or both this upcoming week. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.